Welcome to the Power Narrative podcast by Dr. Zippy Okoth, and today our guest is Bina Maseno, the CEO Badili Africa. Bina is a leader, a women's champion, and a politician.
No.
In Gawa, she has never vied, guys, but she is really shaping a lot of politicians and leaders in very many spaces in Kenya. Karibu sana, Bina. Tell us about your journey. One thing I know about you is from the Miss President show. Oh, guys, Bina was also at the Miss President show, and you came top 5.
I was number 2.
Number
I was the first
2.
runners-up.
You are the first runners-up.
Yes.
I would tell you why you are not the winner. Because
sijui kama kura zangu ziliibiwa ama zilikuwa safe, but I was the
what
first
I can
runners-up.
tell you is you're really making us proud. And I know you deserve it and more.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be part of Madam President, Miss President, and I learned a lot. Yes.
So tell us about your journey. How did you get to this level? Because Bina, anytime I have met you or even just seen you doing your own work or even in other events, when you speak about something, you own it like, hey, Kwani, is she the one it happened to? You're so passionate.
That's true. People tell me that half the time. They're just like, hey, Bina, what? Yeah. But I like pouring myself into anything that I do. I first of all want to say that I am a daughter of Kayole. My journey did not begin in the boardrooms. My journey began in the streets of Kayole. I have 2 brothers, so I come from a family of 5. So I'm the firstborn, 2 brothers, then my mom and dad. And my mom used to run a kiosk for fruits and burgers, vegetables in the community growing up. And my dad was a matatu driver operating in the Umoja and Kayole route. So that's how they sustained us. And I think for me, I want to say that truly, it took a village to just get us through school, to ensure that we have basic needs. And I also want to really acknowledge the role that my uncle, Rogers Machuka, played, which was so significant because he ensured that we stayed in school because my parents could not afford to take us through high school and also the university. And growing up in Kayole, I think for me, I always say that not accessing basic services like water, good sanitation. Nowadays when I see water running in my tap, and I remember in the community, water used to come only on Thursdays, and you have to wake up in the wee hours of the night, to line up. Like, you think you're the first one in the queue at 4 a.m., then you find you're like number 17, because you're living in a flat, And so growing up and seeing how such services are not guaranteed, even though they are enshrined in our Constitution, Article 43, that it is a right. That fed my passion for community development at a very, very tender age. I also lost 3 of my friends to gangs in the community, and these are friends that I grew up with, that I studied with in Mwangaza Primary, in Kayole still. And so all this contributed to me, wanting to invest more in community development. And at the age of 22, I decided to run for political office. And so that's where my journey began.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you think of that issue of running to political office?
So when we were getting closer to the 2013 election, so in 2012, I think as a very frustrated citizen who also saw critical gaps in the community, for me, I thought this was an opportunity to step in terms of the governance challenges I had already witnessed in the community. And so one afternoon, we were with my friends, Akina Collins, and, we're just like, what? I think instead of always waiting to protest, I think we can actually run for office. And then everyone was just like, in this circle, Bina, I think you're the one who can run for office. And then just like that, I threw myself in the ring. Only that when I threw myself in the ring, I thought politics was about ideas. It was about competition.
So which seat were you vying for?
I was vying for member of county assembly in Kayole.
Yes. Member of county assembly.
MCA, guys. Yeah, so I've thrown myself in the ring. I'm here thinking, you know what? It's about ideas. It's about competition.
When I tell people this is what they need, they'll agree.
Yeah. I didn't even know it's about survival. Like, you can actually die just wanting to be the next MCA in this country. And I think I experienced that political system at that particular time as a matter of survival for me. And I think for the first time, it just showed me how politics is so gendered in so many other ways. And no amount of training can prepare you for what you experience in the political terrain. From the patronage networks, from the informal brokers, the violence that you face while you're looking for votes, especially if you're on the ballot.
Yeah.
The lies, the people, the visitors.
The circle who fronted you and said, Bina, you are the one. Were they there with you?
They were there with me. They were there with me. But even they themselves are not prepared.
How old were you at that time?
I was 22 years.
Guys.
I was 22 years, And I had just joined campus.
Yeah.
So I had been sponsored by so many other people to be able to make it to university. And so this was in my first term, like my first year, in school, first year, first semester, And I remember because of campaigning, I began skipping classes, And because of the system in USIU, I knew if I skip a certain amount of classes, I'm going to get an F. And with an F, even if later on you come back and you score A's in all the subjects, it's very hard to raise that F to a certain level. And I started talking to my lecturers, and I told them about my leadership ambition and how it was hard for me to stay in class. And I'm telling you, it was so crazy because sometimes you're in class and then, you receive a phone call and someone is just like, Bina, kuna meeting ya Waluya, kuja sai. Meet Waluya wameja, kuja dandia hii meeting. And because you don't have money, you're like, hey, I need to go to that meeting. Yeah. Then kidogo, kuna mkutano wa mama hapa, come sai. So now you find that you're so distracted because there's so many meetings you need to attend. So I just began skipping classes.
So you had to defer? I
had to defer. And when I deferred, I lost 3/4 of the sponsorship I had because there was some quarters that supported me and they felt that I was not serious enough to want to run for office at 22, having stayed at home for about 3 years looking for school fees. So they felt, no, you should have made a better decision. And so for me, even running for that seat, it was a matter of life and death. I'm like, listen, I imagine I have to.
You better make it so that you...
I better make it or make it. Those ones of plan A. Yeah. There's no plan B. Yeah. Plan B is a repeat of plan A.
It is the plan.
It is the plan. So we have to get in. But also this was at the backdrop of being a frustrated citizen, seeing the hopelessness amongst my peers, my friends, the ones who dropped out of school, teen moms, our own parents. I mean, my mother was, running and manning a kiosk, but most of my mother's friends were women who'd eke a living from just washing laundry for other people, and that's how they would keep their kids in school. You're looking at the poor sanitation in the community. You get to visit other communities and you realize it's only in your community where you don't have running water throughout the week. There are other people in this country who have running water every other day, and then you get to really witness the inequality firsthand.
We take that for granted.
We take a lot of things for granted. Even the insecurity issue in this country, we take it for granted, you see, because when we don't even discuss how gendered insecurity is, especially and how it even affects women, because for people like my mother or other women, when you're leaving your house in the morning, to go to the market or to go to Mudhura to buy your stock for the day. Sometimes you have to wait till 6, because if you leave at 4 a.m., you not only risk being robbed, you also risk being raped. But a man who's leaving the house at 4 a.m., they're not afraid of being raped, they're afraid of being robbed. So for you, it's double, like it is so layered. And if you're leaving at 6 a.m., it means by the time you get to the market, it's late. The transport has tripled, because whoever left before 5, like before 5 or before 6 is even paying cheaper in transportation cost. So they are saving on time because there's no traffic then. They're also saving on transportation cost. But for you, because of insecurity and gender-based violence, you have to wait, you see. And so that's the reality of our mothers, our sisters, the women in our community. And you get to see that every other day. And this is a very same woman who's supposed to make money there to put you through school. Yeah. And so there I was in the campaign. Once you've made up your mind, that's it. You can't retract. The first time my mother heard I'm on the ballot, she didn't know what to say. She was so shocked about it.
You didn't discuss it before with her?
No, because I knew what their stand would be.
Yeah, no, you're still young.
I knew, because we had really toiled for me to get school fees. Like, there are days I would walk around town knocking on doors, with my papers, just asking someone to put me through school. Like, I used to do that with Mama Iva for so many days. So to have secured support for my education, and then now I say I'm running for office. So I already knew what my family would tell me. My dad couldn't even believe it, you see, because, as someone who's a matatu driver, they don't even make much. And the assumption that you might be having money as a family, that's where your child is running for office. So the implication of that.
Again.
Yeah, there's that. And in fact, even throughout that cycle of me campaigning, my own mother had to close down her business, because now people come and take things on credit, and when you ask them, they're like, no, you want 100 shillings and your daughter is running for office, you see. So now people keep on piling. They don't want to pay their credit. They don't want to pay their debt for the things they took on credit, because they don't expect you to ask them to pay 500 shillings, and your daughter is running for political office.
It's just reminded me, my mother, she loved politics.
Yes.
So there was a time she wanted to vie for also MCA in the town market, Asego. And she had a restaurant. Where people would come. So some people would come and say, Mweshimiwa. And then they eat and go, do you know, the after she announced, within that month, she said, I am not running for office anymore. Pay, sit with your kura. That's how she said, let her do her business.
Yeah.
So after that, she became those people of, if you go to her so that she says, please, can you really mobilize her? Yeah, she became a mobilizer. Yes, but she said, these people will make my business fall just because I want to buy.
Yeah. So my mom had to close down her business because of my candidature. She couldn't sustain it completely. It was too much pressure. Because when people don't find you, they go to either your home or where your mother is. They're just like, oh, we heard your daughter is running for office, even as we have groups. So we've come here to tell you we can support her, but they want something from you. So you're either feeding people at home or you're taking care of them at your workplace.
And now, where is the money from?
And then, and you don't have the resources. And then there was my dad, because, for my dad, he's a very interesting man. So my dad is the kind of guy who, he'd wake up in the morning when we go to church, and he just puts on whatever shirt is clean, even if it's creased, as long as it is cleaned, But then now, when your daughter is running for office,
you can't wear something.
How? You're just like, for him, as long as it's clean, So now people are scrutinizing him. If there's, let's say, Chango, and he's escorted you, he needs to contribute. Guys are also looking at how much is Baba Mheshimiwa going to contribute. So now he had took a break from church as well, because now it was too much pressure. My siblings found it unbearable to stay at home. Because
and remember, you're the firstborn.
I'm the firstborn.
And you're 22.
And I'm 22. So my siblings live at home. I live at home, you know, because my other brother was in high school, you know, and so any other time they're at home, they can't even enjoy the home. You see,
because
visitors are flooded. In fact, they arrive at 6. You know, 6 sometimes is even late. They're like, muheshimiwa, unalala na hujachukua kiti bado, and it is 6 a.m. in the morning.
And they tell you that?
Yeah, they tell you that. So by 6 a.m. you must have like by 6 a.m. you have a flask of tea, you have mandazi, because you know from 6 there'll be guests.
So where were you getting all this money from?
So partly was just like well wishers. Partly was my parents, the little money they had. Partly was my Uncle Rogers, the one who decided to stay, you know, like to stand with my campaign. Because when everyone else was like, I don't think it is the right decision Bina has made, my uncle said, that's such a bold decision. The fact that she's gone through the primaries, and the primaries didn't break her, and then she still went to another party and secured a ticket from that party, and she's now on the ballot. I think we all need to support her. And so he decided to support me, you know. So even with moving around, it was on his tab, you see. But still, it will never be sufficient, you know. And I think for me, even when I look at that particular journey, it's also reflecting on the fact that when you enter the political arena, you quickly realize that it's not a neutral ground. You know, the challenges you face are gendered in the sense that even how violence is meted on different people is so different, you see. So as a woman, you're not only worried about how you show up, what you're going to dress when you're going to go to, how you're going to dress up when you're going to that rally, but you're also worried whether you'll come back home safe.
Yeah.
You see, it was the first time I had to start having conversations about goons. And I'm like, how do you even select goons to protect you? Because, like I said, it's a matter of survival.
So you had to select
when you're running for political office. So now you're even wondering, where do I even get these goons to protect me? You see, because the one time I went to a big rally and I didn't have protection, it's the very day I was attacked. It is the very day someone tried to undress me. And so I knew security is a big conversation, especially for women in politics. And so I had to, again, start rallying resources to put aside for my security. And you see, those are resources that you could put into other use. Yeah. If at all we took the question of security very seriously, if at all political parties took the question of security very seriously, if at all the government took the question of security very, very seriously. There's so many capable people, individuals in this country who would run for political office. But when they think about how the arena looks like, the challenges, the political network, the informal brokers, the goonism, the violence, the bribery, they stay away. Yet they have so much to offer this country. We should never be at a point where we are saying we don't have alternatives. You see, even the conversation in the country right now, you hear people saying, if so-and-so leaves, who's the alternatives? There are so many capable people in this country who can run this country. I mean, look at all of us. We are running... Sorry. I mean, look at all of us. We are running institutions. We have systems in place. You know, I run a nonprofit. And it's been 7 years of trying to master how to put systems in place, how to, you know, work with teams. You see, so many other things. There are many other individuals who've run bigger corporations and they can run this country. But their pathway to getting there is so discouraging for many people.
So what happened after your running?
Hey, this is really like going down memory lane for sure.
You won, you were bought.
No.
You decided to support someone. What happened?
No, I didn't decide to support someone. I actually went all the way. All the way.
That's
till
bold,
the very
Bina.
last day. Yeah, till the very last day. And I remember on the last day, I went to the main polling center where they announced the results. And I remember that evening so well because I was there with my team, and I knew this day is going to be a deciding factor on what happens next. I'm like, all those guys who are saying tuko na kura, tunakusupport. This was the day, you know. And I remember getting in, and it was so packed because you can imagine they're counting votes from the MCA all the way to the presidency. So you can imagine the agents are there, observers are there, supporters of candidates are there. So the hall was very, very packed. And as they were announcing the results, you know, they start with the different polling stations. But, you know, there's a way you keep hoping that, you know what, I made the right decision, and maybe I'm going to emerge the winner. And finally, they announced, and I was not the winner.
How many contestants were there?
Were 12. I was number 3.
That's really good for a first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I poured myself in this campaign like I have never.
For a first-time campaign with no resources.
Limited resources.
Yes.
Let's say limited resources because, you see, people are a very huge resource.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like the women who move around with you, the men who move around with you. And for me, I remember, even though people were congratulating me, it didn't matter because in politics, in elections, there's no number 2.
Yes.
You know, you're either number one or number one. Yes. You see. And
but was there any other woman before you?
Yes.
So number one was
actually, that particular election was won by a woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I remember guys saying, you did so well, but it didn't matter. Because for me, I saw how am I going to get back to school? How am I going to look at the people in the community who said they're supporting me? How am I going to look at my parents? How am I going to look at my relatives who said you can't make it?
So what happened now to your education?
So I went back home, and I had to stay home for a while. And my Uncle Rogers, decided to take me back to school. So he took me back to school and paid my school fees at the university level. That's why I'm always so indebted to his generosity and his kindness, because I would not have finished school if he didn't decide to support not only my campaigns, but also to support my education. But I think for me, something shifted. I stayed home for some time because of depression. And I never used to leave the house. And I'm telling you, I had lost so much weight. I think,
if you lose weight, what did you?
I was 48 kilos by the time I was finishing the campaign. I was so slender, very, very slender. And I remember every day I would just wake up, I feel betrayed, I'm crying. And one time, my mentor called me, was supposed to have a session. And I didn't feel like having that session. And I remember even telling, like Reverend Gowi, I'm not sure I really want to talk about this election. And he said, let's just have a conversation. Let's sit down. Let's talk, you know. And I had to drag myself, meet him at a mall, sit at a coffee shop and have a conversation about the election and what I wanted to do, my vision at the time. And I remember him just, looking at the paper and his drawing. He said, okay, you wanted to do this for the community. Yeah. This can be tackled by XYZ. What else did you want to do? This and this and this. You can still do this. You need this person, this networks, this and this and this, these organizations, and you can do it. And I think for me, I remember going back home that day and reflecting on that conversation. And that day, I had a light bulb moment. I realized that the most important office in this country is not the office of the president, it's not the office of the senator, it's not the office of the governor, it's not the office of the member of parliament or woman representative or member of county assembly. The most important office is the office of the citizen. And I decided I'm going to be an active citizen in my community. And that's how Badili Africa was born.
I've never been into let me see. My mother. What? Yule. Yule kama alisema nani hatupeleki hawendi. Na mmoja alikuwa anambia watu, hawa wanakudanganya. Kwa soko ni nani tunapeleka, lakini ukipenda msaidie kusupport unaweza pata kitu like
I like that.
She used to tell me, wewe hatukupeleki. Na anambia watu, hatuwezi kukupeleka kwa sababu ulifanya hivi.
And you see, those are the people that we need to be talking to. So she was
too honest, I think, for politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Kingmakers for the film we did, remember?
Yes, yes.
She's the Kingmaker.
My mother was a Kingmaker.
She still is a Kingmaker.
Yeah. So, taking us back to the story, so where exactly is Badili, Africa located?
So, currently, Badili, Africa, okay, sorry, am I saying the address where we are? Am I the communities we work in?
Either.
Yeah.
Yeah, where your office is, the communities you're working, Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I can pick it up from how Badili, Africa was born, and then I just transition. Yeah. And so, because Nifika, and that's how Badili, Africa was born. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, for me, it was taking stock of the journey I had endured running for political office, but then asking a very critical question. Why is it that the grassroots women who bear the burden of mobilizing votes in this country are not in the decision-making tables? Why is it that young women in this country are excluded from decision-making tables? Because I barely saw young women engaging even within the political parties when I was running for political office, especially at the top level when it comes to the leadership structures of the political parties. The grassroots women in the community, we're just talking about your mother, Daktari, the way, she's a mobilizer. She
was a mobilizer.
She was a mobilizer. She was a kingmaker. But then when the leaders get into office, they forget that she's the one who rallied all the women in the market to get the MCA in. And the very women I would see rallying votes in the community were not even being consulted when it comes to the local development projects. They were not even seen as stakeholders. They were just being seen as beneficiaries. And that's the question that also led to the founding of Badili Africa. And so at Badili Africa, we were registered in 2015, and we began our operations in 2018. And our primary focus has been working with grassroots women who organize in chamas, women who organize in salons, in Nyumba Kumi, and young women, both in the rural and informal settlements and in the learning institutions. And our work currently is in six counties, and it's going to stretch to 10 counties this year, given it's a political year. And one of our pillars is on leadership and decision-making, where we enhance how especially grassroots women and young women engage in governance processes in this country. We're also very keen on ending gender-based violence as a very, very key deterrent to how women show up and engage in the leadership spaces. So this is both online and offline violence. And we're also very keen on reducing the burden of care work that is shouldered by women in the community, and also looking at how it hinders their development when it comes to the leadership spaces they want to occupy in this country and beyond. And it's been quite interesting just working with the target audience that I'm talking about, and not just working with them as beneficiaries, but working with them as partners and collaborators in terms of the change that we both want to see in the community. So they're just not receiving our services, but we are co-creating those services together. And when I look at our work, especially with the Chama women in the communities, and looking at the kind of political work we do with Chama groups in this country, and you see most of these collectives are entry points even for leaders in the community. You'll hear politicians say, nipangie wa mama, panga wa mama pale na pale, and they're the ones who wanapanga wa mama. But wanapanga wa mama, yet
they leave wa mama sitting there.
Yet when these same leaders who are saying, wapangiwe wa mama, when they occupy office, they forget about the people who are mobilizing.
Actually,
you see,
I feel sad when I watched the documentary you
yes.
did, that some of them cannot even get casual jobs in some of these counties.
They can't. They can't. They can't. And most of them even risk their lives. just to mobilize for candidates, especially when you're mobilizing for a candidate who's not popular in that area. Imagine if you're mobilizing, let's say, for ODM in Rift Valley, or you're mobilizing for UDA in Nyanza region, you see, vice versa. So you can imagine the challenges you face as a mobilizer in supporting your candidate. But we are creating a leadership pipeline at Badili Africa, all the way from the university level, for young women to begin occupying the leadership structures within the student council.
Clubs, or what happens at the university level?
Yes, we do have. So we have created spaces where young women are able to convene, where we're able to build and enhance their capacity to engage in leadership spaces like at the student council, to ensure that a young woman is able to run for the topmost office of being the next president in a university. At the community level, we are building the capacity of chama women to not only lead within the chamas, but to be accountability champions for the very, very leaders they mobilize, vote for, and put in office. To be able to audit their budgets, to be able to audit the decisions the political actors make in the community, for them to understand how to mitigate and advocate against gender-based violence, but also for them to move from just mobilizing for other people and running for office themselves, but also mobilizing for capable women in the community who are influencers.
Who were mobilizers and now they felt empowered enough to run for office?
We actually had 7 of them who ran for office in the last election. Nice. While they didn't make it, they were on the ballot. And that was pretty impressive. But also, currently, even the ones who mobilize, they mobilize from an enlightened perspective. Because sometimes you're mobilizing for a senator, and you don't even understand the rules of a senator. You're mobilizing for an MCA, you don't even understand the rules of an MCA. Yeah. You're mobilizing for an MP, you don't even understand the rules of an MP. So they're promising you things that are not within their mandate.
I will bring roads.
Exactly.
They don't even say they'll make roads. I will bring roads.
You see.
I will bring water.
Yes, so we have to convert that political labor that especially women give during elections, to ensure that it works for women when it comes to representation. Because we have very, very low numbers of women in elective office. But when you study the political arena, it's not that women are not showing up. Women are showing up in various ways, but they are confined within the political labor space. You're either a strategist, you're either a mobilizer, you're either an influencer, you see. Like, you're doing more of that, but then it doesn't reflect in us taking power when it comes to the women we see in office. And that's a very, very huge concern at Badili Africa, because when we look at data from the last election, we had about 16,000 candidates on the ballot, whether you are running for MCA or the presidency, and from across different parties, even if you are running as an independent candidate, we had 16,000 candidates on the ballot, and only 11% were women. Only 1,962 were women. So the rest were men. So essentially, we had 14,000 men on the ballot and 2,000 women on the ballot.
And this 11% women, you are including women reps?
Everyone, every woman who ran for office, okay?
Wow.
So we only had about 2,000 women on the ballot against 14,000 men on the ballot. So even the conversation we are having in the country about the 2/3 gender rule, even if all the women who ran in the last election won, we still would not have met the 2/3 gender rule in this country.
Bina, just taking you back. So, a lot of us, we say you go to university, you get employed. So you have never been employed like the way people get formally employed.
I have. I have been employed. I have been employed before. I have been employed before. And I have done business before. In fact, a few months ago, there's a post I put up on social media, and someone commented and said, "Oh my God, Bina, anytime I look at your journey, it is so inspiring, because the first time I met you, you were selling Safaricom scratch cards in the community." And honestly, I sat down with that post And it just almost brought tears to my eyes because,
To see the journey.
yeah, because sometimes you even, like we forget because of, like life is just so busy. We forget the stairs that we've taken in life to be where we are at. And that was in the community. You finish school, you're tamarking, you're looking for work. And I remember I spoke to actually a friend of mine, who's also on social media. It's so interesting. He's called Kelly. We used to be neighbors. Yeah. And I remember asking Kelly and his family and his uncle to lend me some money to start this business for selling scratch cards, And I hope he watches this session because I'm really, really thankful that, like they were able to do that. So that was my first stint when I finished school, selling scratch cards in the community to also support my family.
How much capital did you need to do this?
That one I began with 20,000.
Wow.
And then when I got a bit more profit, I injected another 10,000, like that. And then I kept on injecting more profit until I got to 60,000 capital that now I'm just investing in. But my initial capital was 20,000. Yeah, and the people I used to sell even to do business. I'm telling you, first of all, we are friends on social media. I think I need to, we need to sit down together and reminisce about these days. There's even a guy called Orain. He's one of my friends on my social media platforms. Of course, I've said Kelly's one of my friends as well. That was my first stint. And then the next one was to hawk fruits in town. At around bus station. So
in town, you mean
upper
Nairobi
CBD, yeah, CBD. So my mother began another food kiosk there, at a bus station. So at lunchtime, I used to help her to hawk fruits around town, just go to offices, get to knock doors, and just sell fruits. So I have done that in town. I have sold avocados again, wholesale prices. Imagine that's when I finished school. Between
high school or college?
no, both. There's high school, but even when I finished college, I didn't get work immediately because I just went back to the community. That actually was in 2014, 2015. Yeah, those years, I have also been a makeup artist. I was employed as a makeup artist by MAC Cosmetics. Right. So I used to be a makeup artist at the MAC shop at Garden City.
So do you use another brand?
Sorry? I barely use another brand, by the way. I barely use another brand because I just got accustomed to that brand.
And you got your right color.
But I got my right color, but I also explore other brands, yeah, for sure. But that's how I'm able to do my makeup, because I was a makeup artist for a whole year. So that was my first stint at proper employment, apart from now doing business, And people are always surprised when they see me in the political side and they hear that I was a makeup artist.
Yes.
But for me, it's the fact that God will never waste any experience, any experience. The lessons I have carried throughout every situation I have been in has really strengthened the kind of leader I am today, has strengthened and built my confidence. Hawking fruits in town is not easy. I'm telling you, Daktari, and even when it comes to rejection, sometimes someone tells you, I can't take your product, and you feel like they're rejecting you altogether. Yeah. Maybe it's how you look, that's why they didn't buy your product. So you really, every other day, you try and build your confidence that I can do this and I'm going to do this. And if people are rejecting whatever I am selling, they're not rejecting me. They're just not able to purchase this service or product at this particular time because it is not their priority. Same thing with when I was hawking like the avocados. You go back home with a whole stock and they're just like, oh my God, if it goes bad, because this is a very perishable product.
That's what I wanted to say. What happens?
Yeah.
You eat them all?
No, you distribute them, whether to neighbors or something. Yeah. And then the marketing, when you're at Mac, when people walk in, the art of marketing a product, relational skills when you're talking to someone who is not even ready to buy that product, because MAC products can be pretty expensive, but they're very, very good.
Into the shop for the experience, or they're waiting for someone.
Yeah. So there was that, but I wanted to say that especially my experience as a makeup artist also contributed to the kind of programming we have at Badili Africa when it comes to tackling gender-based violence, because I did realize that gender-based violence does not even choose class. It affects you whether, irrespective of your class, your tribe, your wealth. Gender-based violence touches all of us in different levels.
All this is starting to make sense now. Last year, was it last year or last year at one?
Yeah.
You had the GBV, was it makeup festival, like fashion show, where people are showing different forms of GBV with the way the girls or even the gentlemen, the bruises and all that.
Yes. And I think that was inspired by, I think the story I've shared on a different platform you invited me to before. And I said that one day a wealthy woman that I look up to walked into the MAC store in the morning and found the MAC store was closed. And she called me and said, I want you to come to the MAC store early. I need to do my makeup. And I said, we don't open the makeup store up until 10. And she said, I'm really requesting because it's a bit urgent for me. And she said, I'm going to pay for the services, because when you get like a full makeover, you pay for the services. And she really, I could tell from her voice that she needed the service, but it was something more than the service. And I remember talking to the watchman so that I can be there at the store for them to open up early, because, people start streaming into the mall from 10. That's why we used to open the store at 10 and close much later. And when I got there, she had a very dark bruise under her eye. And she said, I have a board meeting, just help fix this bruise for me. And for me, I remember...
And we keep fixing and fixing.
Looking at her, and I was so shocked. And I think for the first time, it hit me, the fact that sometimes when it comes to our gender-based violence program, we focus them so much in the informal settlements and in the rural areas, forgetting that gender-based violence does not respect class or wealth or age. It doesn't. Here was a powerful woman I look up to, driving my dream car, having the kind of job I'd like to have, going to chair a board meeting, and she's asking me to cover her bruise, a very bad bruise that has refused to heal, to cover it with makeup. And I remember saying, I'm not even sure we can cover it, And she said, just try. And I'm telling you, I went in with so many layers of makeup and my hand was shaking. And I kept on applying and I kept on hoping that, we kept on discussing, both me and her, and saying, if you cry today, all this will be washed away. So I'm not even sure whether we actually need to go on with this makeup. You understand? And she said, no, I can't miss this board meeting because I have already exhausted my 21 days of leave. She had stayed home for all that time, but the wound had not healed completely. You see? And with that realization, that's why even when we talk about gender-based violence, our programs don't just focus on women in the informal settlement or, women at the rural settlement, but is to understand at the face of gender-based violence, everyone is vulnerable to it. And when we finished, she bought all the products. She spent 92,000 and bought all the products. 92,000. You can imagine. 92.
That's a lot of money.
Because she bought all the lipsticks, because she needed to use different lipsticks every other day. And you can imagine, first of all, foundation alone is 6,000, So you buy foundation, you buy powder, just those two products, you're at 12,000. Lipstick is 3,200, okay? You buy 10 pieces, you're already at 32,000. Buying highlighters.
Very rich one.
Yeah, she was, but you see, she needed to maintain that look until she heals completely. So it was not that she had even planned to spend that much. but she needed to get out of the house and go to work. So it means she had to maintain that look, because she can't come to the store every day. Whatever amount she would have spent would have still amounted to that for the next 2 weeks if she needed to be at work.
If she needed to come every day.
Yeah. And that's why even with the SGBV fashion runway that you saw us do.
So is it every year? Or?
Yes, it's every year. That's why we do that runway. So that especially for survivors of gender-based violence, we never like re-traumatizing survivors. So all the stories that we collect of survivors, we always bring in creatives to interpret those stories on community models. So the models you see are from the community, but they'll be embodying stories of survivors who are in the room. So that you don't have survivors come and start telling their stories for the 10,000th time. This is what happened to me, but you'll just see them.
When somebody keeps telling the same story, they start accepting it as the reality.
Yes.
Which, there needs to be acceptance for healing, but there can be acceptance to abuse that makes it your brand. Like, you see,
so we avoid that. We avoid people labeling you with your story. That's why creatives always interpret it. So we have makeup artists who come on board. We have creative designers, and all of them, when they look at the stories, they come up with now a way of how community members can tell that story, so that we also do not lose when it comes to the stories that are not being reported, because there's a very big number that does not report gender-based violence. So there's underreporting, and underreporting affects advocacy on what needs to happen to end the vice.
Bina, you are too many things. Still very young.
Yes. I always say I'm a Gen Z alumni.
You're a Gen Z alumni?
Yeah.
Like you've lived the life of many, many years. I think you've already lived past 50, 60 at the age
by God's grace.
By God's grace.
Yeah, by God's grace.
Yeah, but maybe tell us, in your life, you have got Uncle Rogers, whom you've really spoken a lot about.
Yeah.
And you've spoken about your father, who in his humility, you've also talked about how he stood with you.
Yeah.
And your mother. Maybe just tell us how your choices impacted them. Yes, you've told us how the politics part really impacted them. But maybe now tell us, how did they impact you, your choices?
So I first of all want to say, personally, I am a sum total of the mentors who have invested in me. And there's been many mentors, many people who've poured into my life. And so every other day, I always have to remember that I stand on the shoulders of both senior and young people in this country that continue to pour into my life. I want to start with Gina Mutune. I remember when I went back to school, after running for political office, when I finally was able to be supported to go back to school, she had come to USIU to screen her film, but also to talk about her film. And I was so inspired by her talk, and I took her contact. And later on, I kept on following up with her and pestering her to journey with me. And I am so glad that God allowed us to journey together for quite some time, because she is so brilliant in terms of how she's able to polish your ideas. And I remember just pouring my heart out to her, telling her about my political experience, my work in the community, and what I'm thinking about. And she was able to just help me, glue that together. And so there was Gina Mutune. There's also been Mildred Ngesa. And I think for Mildred Ngesa, she's always reminded me and my team that, number one, we should never tick boxes when it comes to the work that we do at Badili Africa, that we are working with people in their community, not as beneficiaries, but as collaborators. And any other time we feel like we are not collaborating, we should not go ahead and do that event. And so we have always been very, very intentional with the kind of events that we do and how we carry them out. There's Millie Mabona, Honorable, who has always been available anytime I have a question in terms of my engagement in the political arena. She's come to very many of our events, and she remains accessible even to other women in my circle who want to engage with her. And sometimes when I feel overwhelmed by what is happening in the political scene, I call her, or we meet up and I'm like, I'm concerned about gender-based violence in politics, and this is what I am thinking. And she'll always, give advice or share insights or networks or strategies on how we can tackle that particular issue. And there's Dr. Julie Oseko. It's so interesting how I met Dr. Julie Oseko, former magistrate currently. Him together with Jeremiah Ouko. He was the former assistant director for polytechnics in Nairobi. And I remember I met both of them together in just my movement in town when I was going door to door, knocking doors for people to support me and contribute to my education. And that day, Dr. Julie had gone to see Mr. Oruko in the office. And then I had really begged to enter Harambee House that day because that's where Mr. Jeremiah's office was. And finally, when I got to his office, I didn't even know. I just knew. I just want to see the director for polytechnics. Maybe I can get help. And I used to walk around with my, with my certificates. And that day I was with
original or copies.
Both. Because if you want my copies, I'll just leave my copies. I go photocopy again. So I just used to work with both.
That's brave in this country.
Yeah. And that day I was with Mama Eva. And we got to the office like this, and she just began crying and talking in Luo, saying, "Oh, if you don't help this child, she will get married at a tender age." And they were so shocked because when they looked at my paper, my documents, like I had excelled so well, and they were like, "Oh my God,
why is she still?"
Why? Yeah, exactly. And I remember Dr. Julie saying, "Except I'm actually traveling to go complete my PhD. I would have adopted you, but I'm going to journey with you. Anytime I'm in the country, I'm going to journey with you." And Mr. Oruko decided to just support my very first phase of education to go to Graphins. So the very first course I did was hospitality before I was supported to get into USIU. So he actually took care of that. And he didn't even know, major details about my life. I remember when I finished and I was inviting him for my graduation. He received the graduation and it had my surname, Maseno. And texting, he was like, "Who's this?" Because, I only used to interact with the PA in the office. So I was added to the list of the children he was supporting. So I would get there, you find your letter, your bahasha, everything, whether it's a check or resources, they've been put into a bahasha, your name is there. So you just get in, and then Pauline is able to give you your envelope. You take it to the school. So he was just like, "Oh, you're done with school." And so I'm forever indebted to him as well. Also to Nerima Wako, because for Nerima, when Badili began, it was an idea. And she was the board chair. And being the board chair of a very nascent organization comes with a lot of work. Because first of all, you have no office, no structures, no staff. Then when you get the staff, there's staff turnover. There's fundraising, So leading and supporting an organization that is growing from an idea to its formalization takes quite a lot of, grit, strength, wisdom to do that. And courage. So she's been able to do that with Steve Obogo and Lucy Kasema Mbuki. And many other people who've really poured into my journey that if I start talking here, we'll even take the whole hour, But I'm so grateful.
You're a child of the community.
I'm a child of the community, for sure. So many people at the community keep on pouring into me, Rachel Mwikali, editor Oching, so many people keep on pouring into me.
Yes.
Yes. That's why I'm saying I'm a sum total of the people who keep on pouring into my life. Yeah, and I keep on learning from them. And I think I've come to realize that everything rises or falls at the level of your leadership. And that's why I take the advice that I've received before very, very seriously.
What do your siblings think?
About?
You and Badili Africa, and you say you're not a politician, but I mean about mentoring others to be in the political space.
Yeah. My siblings think I belong in... My siblings think I belong in parliament.
You do?
Yeah, that's what my siblings think. You know, they think that I shouldn't have just taken a stab in 2013, but that I should have continued. Yeah. But then when they see the kind of work we're doing in the community,
you're creating more leaders.
Yeah, like you're creating a pipeline for more leaders. You're enlightening more women in terms of how they should not just mobilize, but they should just move from mobilization to also occupying those seats, the kind of civic education we do in churches. So when they look at that kind of work, you know, the young women leaders we are supporting to occupy political spaces and leadership spaces within the communities and at the university level. So when they see that, they still feel like I'm living my dreams and my aspirations. Yeah.
Now that you've mentioned Millie Mabona and you're mentoring quite a number of women, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges for young women aspiring to be leaders? Of course, apart from funds, what is the biggest challenge? Because I mean, when we look at someone like Millie, one, she was vying in her home county.
Yeah.
That, according to Luo traditions, you'll be told all sorts of things. Oh, you are not married here and all that. So there's the challenge of our patriarchal society shunning women vying in their own counties. Yeah. Of course, there's the finances. There's the issue of, are you single or married? Do you have a home?
Yeah, that's true.
But now, when it comes to the ones who have really faced, are these still challenges, or are those challenges faced out?
Those are still challenges. And I would say it's hard to just pick out one issue that is a big deterrent to how women and girls show up. But I'd like to start with gender-based violence, both online and offline. And the reason I'm beginning with gender-based violence is because for especially a young woman who's entering the political space today, you find that the online space is a campaigning space for you. Yeah. Like it's an easier entry point for you to introduce your campaign and introduce your ideas. And so if that is a very, very space where you're going to be bullied and kicked out of, it affects how you engage in the offline space as well. And then when you go to the community and you're not only worried about being beaten, but you're also worried about being groped. You're worried about being raped. You're worried about, like the time you take to think about your security, the resources you put aside for your security, all that is what you can put into good use when you're thinking about other arenas that need your time, that need your resources. So that is one of the biggest deterrent to how women show up in the leadership spaces, especially in politics. Then when you look at the resources you need to run for political office, I remember this study that spoke about if you're running for member of parliament, you need 22 million. So as a young woman,
where do you get
22 million? You see, even when you look at your social capital, when I was 22 running for political office, majority of my peers were my friends. I didn't know people like you, perhaps who could have given me $1 million, to inject in my campaign. Hallelujah. You see, you understand? To inject in my campaign, you see. And my peers, majority of them were not even allowed to join political rallies. Because if your mother sees you in a political rally and you're in campus...
Yeah, they'll be like, you want us to be killed.
Like, what were you doing in that rally? So you can say, I was supporting my friend, you understand. So where do you get that? If they say, the study says you need a minimum of 5 million to run for a member of county assembly, What does that mean? So that also becomes a barrier. The social norms that we're talking about, what you are describing, where you're from, whether you're married or not, that still becomes, continues to be a challenge.
Are you a child or are you a brought child?
I am telling you.
Right now there are so many dimensions to it.
Yes. So those still continue to be challenges, and I think it will take concerted efforts from not only people who are interested in politics, but from all of us. Because I always say that politics affects everything we do. Yeah. Everything we do is affected by politics, whether it's your hair, whether it's the food that you're eating, your taxes, safety, everything is affected by politics. And so the solutions we're talking about will require all of us to engage.
I tell people, like right now, we are approaching elections. Can people go and vote? Can people go and get the voting cards, register as a voter, and go and vote? I'm told people who registered before 2012, like me, need to go and register afresh.
No, you're not registering afresh. You're updating your details.
We are updating our details.
Yeah.
Where we are living now.
I think so.
My ID is still the same.
Okay. I need to dig up on that, actually. I need to dig up on that. But you're not registering afresh as a voter.
Okay.
You see, because also when you look at mobility in this country, because if you're living in Kisumu, now you're living, let's say, in Lavington, you see. Yeah. So also just trying to ensure that where you want to vote
is within your proximity.
Is within your proximity. If you want to vote in Lavington, you need to go check your details again and transfer your polling station.
The last elections, I really had a challenge in changing my polling station. I really wanted to change my polling station.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They told me I can't change. I don't know, time has passed. I'm like, what do you mean time has passed? People are still registering.
So I think right now, if you want to change your polling stations, you can. Yes, and you need to. If you're supporting someone.
I need to change my polling station. Not to support someone, because I need to vote where I live.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you want to support a candidate, who aligns with the values.
Oh, that is even at the presidential level and stuff. Yes.
From the MCA to the president, not just at the presidential levels. You know, the thing with the elections, when people tell you they're tired of elections, you know, sometimes people refer to the presidential options, but we forget that the ballot has 6 options. Yeah? You have the MCA, the MP,
actually,
the woman rep, the senator, the governor.
For my MCA and MP.
Exactly.
So that when I go to the barazas and I complain,
they
know.
So it's very important for you to turn up and vote. Because you're not only voting for one option.
Yeah. Maybe the other thing we need to add is, even as we vote, we need to attend these, what are they called? These meetings at the county offices.
Public participation meetings. It's very important.
I think it's important that beyond voting, we attend public participation.
Yes, I agree with you.
So because we can vote, but if we are not there to ratify the budget and to decide which roads we want stuff, then of what benefit is our vote?
Because I mean, the budgets at the constituency level, at the county level, you know, I always say the quality of the MCAs we put in office will determine the quality of the services we receive at the county level. Because you see, it's also the MCAs who approve the governor's budget. You see.
And we don't know that.
You see. So at the end of the day, when you see all the fights between the MCAs, the governor, and also if your MCA is not able to aggregate the issues in your ward to be able to represent you well at the assembly. To represent you well at the assembly, to articulate your issues at the assembly, because that is why we have you at the ward level, you know. So at the end of the day, it's all ties up, you know. It's just not only about your MCA, it's about also, you know, your MP, your woman rep, your governor. It ties up, you know, yes.
Maybe we'll talk about this next time.
We need to, but, especially in this season.
I want us to talk about women reps and providing pads. We want women reps who can do more beyond providing sanitary towels. Sanitary towels are very important, but we find a lot of women reps. That's all they do.
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say
many.
I wouldn't say that's all they do.
That's the much they do, or rather, let me say that those are the photos they show us of what they do. But maybe that's a discussion for another time.
Yes.
But yes, because I like it when women leaders are in parliament and are in leadership to take care of women issues. But like you said, GBV has got many fronts. There's the issue of sanitary towels. There's the issue of course, safety spaces and all that. But there's the issue of putting money in the pocket of a woman, helping them in business. Because I always believe it saves. It saves to have your own capital.
Zipi, okay, hope my iko sawa. Inapanda tu.
Iko sawa. Hatuoni hata. Iko kwa ndani ya akili. Yeah, we are in the last 3 minutes or 5 minutes.
So.
Anyway, so these papers here, we have got love, friends, travel, God, family, life, and fun. So you pick one, the one that you feel speaks to you the most.
Yeah.
And tell us what it speaks to you.
I think I'll pick God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm picking God because I am a product of God's grace, God's mercy, and God's love. And I say that because even when I look at the work that we do at Badili, Africa, I always say I'm a steward. I'm a steward of the ideas God has deposited in me, in our team. I'm a steward of the team members God has allowed me to lead in this season. I'm a steward of the child God has blessed me with. I'm a steward of the friends God has blessed me with. And I always lean a lot on God's wisdom when it comes to how I do everything. So one of my favorite scriptures is a popular scripture, Proverbs 3:5. And it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge him and he will order your steps." That part that says, lean not on your own understanding. You know, anytime we have challenges, depending on our level of exposure, it's so easy to say, I think let me do this. I think this is the career of the future. I think this is where the world is going, so let me do this. Like we said before, I have done so many things in life.
Is where does God want to place
you.
I've
done so many things. At some point, I thought I'd be a journalist. I grew up wishing I'd be a journalist.
What did you study?
Yeah, I studied journalism.
Okay.
And I always wanted to be an anchor, you see. And I've worked at K24, and I thought that was it when I was a reporter at K24. When I was a makeup artist, I thought, you know what, I can open my own brand. This is it. But that was to the level of my understanding and to my exposure. So that was me leaning on my own understanding on what is good. But God had bigger plans, for me. The levels that I have been to, I can't even credit my my own efforts, Daktari. I tell people that in the past I have tried to go to the US so many times. Hey, Daktari, through marriage, the guys who get the green card and add you there, I have tried to go to the US. You understand? Yeah. Me, I was like, my life, I can only make it when I go to the US. And I have tried. And I gave up because at some point I was barred by the US Embassy from appearing until 3 years are over.
Completely. Because you had tried too many times.
I tried too many times. But then at one particular time, someone had gotten a green card, and then they had added me as their partner, and then we didn't agree on so many other things. They wanted me to be a partner for real, and I'm like, Allah, I can't be a partner for real. This is just an agreement, and they refused. But by the time we were disagreeing, they had already submitted the papers, and now we had been invited to the embassy to come as a couple. But then I was like, no, I am not going. But I didn't know that would have implications later. And so later on, when I applied as a student to travel to the US, I go to the embassy, and I arrived there, and they're asking me questions, and then they're saying, but why would you want to go to the US as a student, and we see you had won a green card? And then I am stuck. And they're like, but here you've written you're single as a student, but just a year ago you were married. What happened? Yeah. Then they said it was too inconsistent. And then that was it. And I'm telling you, just 4 years.
Do you know the number of people who would have said, let us go, we will break up the other
I'm telling you. I know. And you see, 4 years, 4 years down the line, I get in my line of work. You know, I'm working at IFES. I finish from IFES. I start working at Badili, Africa. And one day, I'm invited to a session hosted by the Gates. It's called the Goalkeeper event when they were beginning it. And among the speakers I was going to speak alongside was Barack Obama, the president, was the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, was Malala, you know. And that's why I'm saying, for me, I can never credit my effort, because even the rooms I have been into, I can't say it's because of my knowledge. You know, the people God has put in my path that I've had favor with, you know, it's people, my own education and my resource could not have impressed them at all. You see, like God had to move in their hearts for them to say, you know what, I want to journey with this girl at this point of her life. I want to invest in this particular girl at this point of her life. And so that's why I'm saying, for me, I always say I want to be a Daniel of our time. I want to be a Joseph of our time, you know, who had the wisdom to know what needs to be done. You know, I want to be the Esther of our time, the Joshuas and the Calebs of our time, because there's knowledge and brilliance and there's wisdom from God and who can help you understand the season that we are in and how you need to move and with who. And so for me, I always say, you know, I don't fake it till I make it. I faith it till I make it.
That's powerful. Is that your final word?
Sorry?
Faith it.
Yeah. I think my final word would be...
maybe just a word to youth.
Yeah.
Maybe any youth whom you think might be looking up to you as a role model or a mentor. You can say to the camera.
Oh, yeah. I think for me, I would say that don't just chase opportunities in life, but build capacity for when they come. Build the discipline needed for when those opportunities arrive, so that you don't sink under the weight of those opportunities or the blessings that God has granted you. And also, don't wait to start when you're ready. You start and build the confidence in motion. And remember, we don't fake it till we make it. We faith it until we make it. Yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, my peoples, that's it. Today our guest was Bina Maseno, and this has been a really inspiring leadership talk. I have learned a lot about governance in this show than I have learned in many years. And thanks to Bina Maseno. Guys, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all our social media platforms, and keep it here. Just a reminder, Bina Maseno is the CEO of Badili Africa, and many other titles, empowering many young people, young women and men in different counties and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Zipio Koth, and keep it here at the Power Narrative Podcast. Thank you.